The Sima de los Huesos site in Atapuerca, Spain, is famous for its extensive collection of Neanderthal fossils. 12 or more of them are dating back 430,000 to 300,000 years ago. But this site and region in Atapuerca, Spain has a much longer history, and stands out, because also several other hominins were found. This site has yielded significant fossil evidence of Homo antecessor, Homo heidelbergensis, and potentially early Homo sapiens. The discovery of Homo antecessor challenged existing theories about the first humans in Europe, suggesting a more complex migration pattern and an earlier arrival of modern humans, also much earlier than any arrival from out of Africa. Homo antecessor is characterized by a mix of primitive and modern features, with a face that resembles Homo sapiens. Just as the assumed 310,000 years old modern humans in Jebel Irhoud, which when put in the light of any out of Americas or out of the Atlantic currents is pretty much the same destination and especially main objective of mining. These Jebel Irhoud fossils also present a mix of primitive and modern features, and there was no scientific or rational reason to reclassify them to modern humans, especially after they had been classified as Neanderthals ever since their discovery, this 40 years earlier. Sima de los Huesos, known for its over 5,000 human fossils, is by consensus believed or rather hypothesized to have been a burial site, but for us of origin for existence it is primarily a continuous place of intensive mining activities, executed by consecutive archaics, all of them brought there and supervised by modern humans. Homo heidelbergensis fossils have also been found at Atapuerca, particularly at the Sima de los Huesos site. Their fossils are dated to around 400,000 years ago, and are by consensus considered to be ancestors of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. For us of origin for existence, the Neanderthals are the first-line descendants of roughly 600,000 years old modern humans, genetically identical or near identical to modern humans of today. If the consensus view of Homo heidelbergensis to be the ancestors of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens that would compose an out of Europe, that is if they by themselves would not have an ancestor coming from yet another continent, which they provingly do, and that ancestor is not from Africa. Further, we of origin for existence confirm and claim that the Homo heidelbergensis indeed are the ancestors in the timeline of finds, but are the proven descendants of modern humans genetically, exactly as the whole genome haplotype tree proves us. For this reason Homo sapiens, or rather modern humans, should be the primary focus of the Atapuerca finds. Despite this, they are not at all the primary focus of consensus, in our view simply because consensus does not prioritize to find our ancestor nor to tell the correct human history, and certainly does not at all want to find our ancestor anywhere else than in Africa, but deliberately sticks to its narratives, and tries to freeze the actual status quo and clear impasse. Of which also the alternative historians fall victims of, mostly because of their lack of understanding of and because of lack of interest in the most relevant scientific tools, like the essential ancestral markers, genetics, and DNA-related subjects in general. Nevertheless, the site has clear potential to yield evidence of the presence of early members of our species, more specifically of the so-called modern humans that dominate the world today. The Atapuerca site is a testament to the rich and complex history of human evolution, offering a glimpse into the lives and migrations of our ancestors, and in our view confirm the existence and importance of the earliest migrations out of the Americas, including those to Western Eurasia, which includes Europe, places across Africa, like also northwestern Africa and or Maghreb, and also places around the Mediterranean, extending as far as into the Middle East, as you can find back in the whole genome haplotype tree. This when it is subdivided by continents. The strategic location of the Sierra de Atapuerca, between the Douro and Ebro river basins, and near a mountain pass, has been suggested as a factor in the area's prolonged hominid habitation. The presence of the Arlanzón River and its associated fluvial features would have provided water and resources for early humans. Further, the abundance of water is key in efficient and successful mining. In Europe, the oldest Oldowan and associated hominins occur in Spain, with a debated age of 1.6 to 0.9 million years. In a unique and for ancestry very important research, the region stands out once more, or rather confirms its history. These fossils, all or most of them found in a deep cave shaft, represent the largest collection of pre-Homo sapiens human fossils ever discovered. The site is known as the Pit of Bones. Some or even many seem to interpret this site as a burial site, which is understandable. Nevertheless, many of these fossils were Neanderthals, and Neanderthals are associated with haplotype B006 and very significant and global intercontinental migrations. There is nothing that indicates that the other archaics do not belong to this haplotype B006. A haplotype is a bit like a haplogroup, but is related to the whole genome or DNA, instead of only to the small y DNA and or the small mtDNA. In one of the few studies around haplotypes around the world, it becomes clear that haplotype B006 is a first line of structural change after our ancestor, and it also becomes clear that it departs from the Americas and migrates to all other continents, obviously across oceans. A supposed hunter-gatherer, especially without advanced navigation skill and or ships, migrating to all other continents, obviously across oceans, does not make sense at all. This should be surprising for those who hold on to out of Africa. This despite that all ancestral markers also point to the Americas as the origin of all humans. This haplotype B006 Neanderthal DNA differs from theirs, and our, ancestors, that lived roughly 600,000 to 2 million years ago, with only 4 alleles. This means that the Neanderthal is more similar to our ancestor than you and every other modern human living today that is no direct family of you, who differ from you by over 2 million alleles, or 1%. Supposed cognitive revolution 50,000 years ago debunked by millions of years. The reason Neanderthals look different from their ancestor, and us modern humans, is because of the methylations they underwent. The shutting off of certain genes, probably during or before their embryonal stage, that you could call domestication or the domestication of their genes. That is why Neanderthals and even earlier hybrids that also underwent similar methylations, that you could call domestication, already had all the brain structures for speech, but nevertheless maybe were not able to speak, or not able to speak equally to us, this so amongst others because of the methylations they underwent. Methylations are not equal to genetic manipulation, but nevertheless are caused by humans. So humans knew how to manipulate and domesticate other humans, this provingly by means of methylations, and this already roughly 600,000 to 2 million years ago. That should not be too surprising, since Native Americans profoundly genetically manipulated plants and animals in the past, which represent genetic manipulations, which are much more advanced than the methylations used on Neanderthals, and that you could call domestication.